Good evening, respected members of Research Foundation of India team, our distinguished guest speaker, Dr. Kunal Soni sir, and all esteemed participants.
Good evening.
It's my privilege to welcome you
Good
all
evening.
today on behalf of Research Foundation of India to Day 4 of the Faculty Development Program and the Training Program on Innovative Teaching and Learning Pedagogy. Today's focus is on the captivating topic of tips for conducting group discussions as innovative teaching practices. This collaborative initiative has been meticulously organized by the Synergy Research Foundation of India and RFI-CARE in association with HMR Institute of Technology and Management, Shodh Malwa and BPIT. It is graciously supported by Eklavya University, JHCRF, ARGA and Edu Academic Inc. Before we proceed, allow me the privilege of introducing our guest speaker, Dr. Kunal Soni sir, the most proficient and outstanding expert. He is an associate professor of finance and accounting at the School of Management, GSFC University, Vadodara. With a rich academic background spanning 10 years and an additional 3 years of industrial experience, he holds a diverse set of qualifications, including a BBA and MBA in finance, PhD in management, and various specialized diplomas. His remarkable contributions to the field are evident through his 24 publications in widely recognized journals such as Scopus, ABDC, UGC-CARE, and Web of Science. Notably, he holds a patent under the Intellectual Property Rights Act 1970, recognized by the Government of India for his innovative work on techno-innovation and growth of the Indian share market. His academic excellence is further highlighted by his receipt of the 3 Best Research Paper Awards at international conferences sponsored by UGC and AICTE. Recognized as the best faculty of the management department at Parul Institute of Management, he has also served as a sought-after resource person and session chair at over 20 B schools, UGC, HRDCs, and research institutes across India. As a dynamic educator, he imparts knowledge through training sessions on analytical software such as SPSS, AMOS, Smart TLS, eViews, Advanced Excel, and R programming. His commitment to continuous learning is demonstrated by his participation in over 20 faculty development programs organized by the prestigious institutions such as IIM Ahmedabad and IIM Visakhapatnam. Having presented 19 research papers at national and international conferences and conducted 17 seminars and workshops, he stands as a beacon of expertise and innovation in the realm of finance, accounting, and management. So, with that, I now invite Dr. Kunal Soni sir to please begin his presentation. Thank you. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, madam. Thank you. Yeah. Just confirm the screen sharing.
Yes, sir, it's visible.
It's visible? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Okay. So, good evening, all of you. So today, it is the 4th day of the faculty development program. Especially the innovative teaching and learning pedagogy. So, the theme itself is very interesting. When we talks about innovative teaching and learning, right? So the innovation itself believes in, providing something extra. When we talks about providing something extra, that means, as far as the academical term is taken into consideration, then something extra means something value added, right? So the value added means that the things which we are sharing with the students, as far as their academic their growth is concerned, their knowledge is concerned, their skill is concerned, so that should be some value addition, as far as their growth is concerned, when they are putting themselves into the corporate life, after their graduation or post graduation from our institute and university. When we talks about the value addition, so there is another term that we need to add, right? When I'm saying that I'm using some tools to teach my students in terms of some value addition, Now, the second question that I need to portray, in front of me as a faculty, I need to continuously evaluate myself that what I'm putting, as far as the regular day-to-day classes are concerned, and what is the ultimate output that I'm receiving as far as the students' overall growth and development is concerned. Right. So that is very, very innovative. That is what the theme is. That is what the aim of every academic institute, and that is where we all are working for, right? And that is where we all are getting paid for it, right? So it's very obvious that value addition means something which is going to be useful for them in the future. When I'm saying that something is useful for them in the future, that it has a direct correlation with the employability and the increased earning potentiality, right? So students should possess that much amount of skill as per the current scenario in whatsoever field in which they are, whether it is from management, commerce, physical education, medical science, technology. So irrespective of the field in which they are, right, in which the field in which we are dealing with, but we need to teach them in such a way that in whatsoever in the field they are, they have the sustainability power, they have the growth in their own self, right, through achieving the potentiality that is required in their respective fields, right? And that is through the proper earning capacity, and that earning capacity should be proven as far as the placements are concerned. And at the same time, once the placements are done, then how they are growing in their life with continuous improvement in their life, with the learning lessons or the fundamental base that we need to create among the students, right? So with that consideration and this much amount of discussion, the fourth session of this particular FTP is based on group discussion. Very, very innovative teaching learning method for the students, as far as their growth is concerned, their career is concerned. And there are a lot many reasons why the group discussion is, proven to be most important parameter as far as the growth is concerned. So we will discuss this in a, today's presentation. So this is just a brief about the topic that we are going to discuss today. So, with that consideration of the topic, let's discuss about the flow of presentation. So we will discuss the definition of group discussion. We will also discuss the various features of group discussion. So whenever we are trying to conduct a group discussion, we must need to ensure that these are the parameters that needed to be justified and that needed to be, taken care as far as the student growth and development is concerned, right? Then we will also see the reason why group discussion has proven to be most important selection process or most important selection criteria as far as students' growth and development is concerned. So here we will all discuss the reasons why the education institute and universities are putting more emphasis on the group discussion process, right? So here is the important criteria that we have to discuss for the students as a part of group discussion. Then we will discuss how the group discussion has been proceeded. That is called the step-by-step discussion as far as, the first step, second step, third step, fourth step, and so on. Right. So what are the different parameters through which the group discussion has to be proceeded? Right. So that is where we were going to discuss the various process through which the group discussion is going to happen. Right. So that is called the process. Right. Whatsoever, let's say, what is the first process is the topic. Then there should be some brainstorming time. Then that should be some, actual opinion sharing. Then we should have open discussion, and then we should have some end notes, right? So this is called the step-by-step process that we have to depend. Again, there is no bar, there is no cap, there is no personal rule that should be the flow according to the field, according to the requirements, according to the moderators. The process might get customized. That is completely depends upon the organizer who is organizing, with the consideration of the objective for arranging such kind of group discussion. Then prerequisites of group discussion. So whenever we are arranging group discussion, so before that, whatsoever the arrangement that should be taken care by the organizer or the moderator of the group discussion, right? So that is what is very important to taken care, because what happens that during group discussion, if something has been missed out or something that you have not communicated them well in advance, then during the process you won't get a time or you won't get a platform to reintroduce themselves, and that's where the purpose of group discussion might get diluted, right? So before starting group discussion, we should have, pre-assumption about all the requirements of the group discussion, which is needed as a part of the discussion, right? So that is where the prerequisites of the group discussion needs to be discussed. Then we will also discuss the various benefits which are associated with the group discussion. So if at all, if any person is entering into the group discussion, then what are the major benefits that the person will going to receive? That is called the benefits of group discussion. Then we can also discuss about the reason for having group discussion in academic institute. So if at all person is indulged into group discussion, or any academic institute wants to organize group discussion, so there are certain reasons why this particular institute or universities are organizing group discussion. So we will also discuss why the academic institute and university needs to organize group discussion on frequent basis, and what are the benefits that the students community will receive, and at the same time what academic institute will receive a help as far as the selection of students is concerned. And not it is restricted up to the academic institute also, but it should be added by the corporates also whenever they are coming for the placements. So they are always hunting for the good quality persons, right? And group discussion is one of the the greatest learning pedagogy through which the corporates also can identify the potentiality of the students, one particular candidates among the group of candidates, right? So the organizer would be able to justify, the organizers would be able to select the best candidate out of the many, right? So that is where for selection process, group discussion is the creamiest pedagogy for academic institute and as well as for the corporates as well. Then we have to discuss what are the do's and don'ts, right? So as far as when we are considering group discussion, so what should we do and what should we avoid as a part of group discussion, right? So this is called the do's and don'ts process that we have to take care as far as the group discussion is concerned. Then we have to discuss the various important methods, where we have to conduct a group discussion. So through which sort of methods, the group discussion can be proceed. And every method has their salient features. So, there is slight modification, which is called the customization of group discussion. So as I told you, it is completely in the hands of the organizers or the moderators who are planning to conduct a group discussion. So yes, the methods are also going to play an important role as far as the purpose of conducting group discussion for, by deviating every, or universities and, institute, right? So yes, the objective does matters as far as the group discussion is concerned. And finally, we have to conclude, right? So conclusion is the another part that we have to discuss. So firstly, we will discuss about the definition of group discussion. So group discussion is basically one of the communication process where the group of people came together and discuss on one particular topic. They will share their thoughts, ideas, critical thinking, they will also produce some facts and figures, so that should be filtered by the multiple people. There should be some counter arguments, that's where the people should enhance their knowledge, skills, abilities by looking and observing others as well, right? So this is the interactive process through which the person should get the advanced knowledge also, and at the same time the person should also learn the behavioral aspect from the different individuals, right? So here you have to observe the individual who is pursuing a good practice, as far as the communication skill and knowledge sharing power is concerned, right? So this activity is usually happening not individually, but it is usually happening in a group of people ranging from minimum 5 to maximum 15. Again, there is no exact bar of having 5 to 15. This is a usual number. This is the ideal number to carry a group discussion. But yet again, customization is always possible in group discussion depending upon the objective and the purpose that has been set by the organizers or the moderators who is going to conduct this particular group discussion. Because in this process, the people usually came together to discuss on specific topics or issues on which they want to discuss, and they will share their thoughts, ideas, and everything on this platforms. And that's why the primary purpose of the group discussion is to have the exchange of ideas where people will exchange their ideas, thoughts. They will also share their opinions, and collectively, they also explore the various aspects of the given subject, right? So here, The person will share their ideas, thoughts, and at the same time, they are also free to, and they are also open to share their thoughts, idea, and that is where the knowledge sharing process is going on. And at the same time, we should also able to enhance our knowledge, because we should not consider that we know everything, but at the same time, we will also get an opportunity from the knowledge of others as well, right? So it is a knowledge sharing process. And that's why where the GDs are going to be, conducted in most of the process, like, as you can see this, the selection process of the students in the academic institution, like, if I'll talk about the greatest institutions in India, so IIMs, IITs, IISCs, NITs, right? So this kind of institutes are taking group discussion practices for the selection of the students. So yes, this is one of the portion. Even many government universities are also having the same process, recruitment process. Yes. So I'm talking about the corporates, right? So whosoever is coming for the campus placements, they are conducting this process because they want to see the, knowledge, skills, confidence, many parameters in which they want to select the candidates. I'm not saying that this is the normal process, but again, depending upon the various fields, the requirements are different. So they want to fit out the right candidate who is possess the skills for which the corporate is hunting for, right? And at the same time, if at all you are not going for any selection process either for the academic institute admissions or recruitment process for the employment, but yes, if at all you are planning group discussion on regular basis, so it is ultimately helping you as an overall development in terms of their professional development. And that's why the group discussion is one of the important techniques to judge the capability of the person, whether it is students or whether it is for the employees, right? So here you can scrutinize, here you can filterize the right candidate who is having the excellent skills, caliber, capacity to carry out your work, and that's where you can select the person. What is the salient features of group discussion, if at all we are going to cover? So yes, first is the topic, right? Because if at all, if we are from management institute or we are from IITs, so the topic, if it is IIM, then the topic should be related to management, and if it is IIT, then the topic should be related to technology, right? So here the field, the theme should does matters. So here the theme should be, given a priority, because even the person, the target audience which is going to come over here, they are also going to belong to the same background, right? Because with the name of the institute, the person will come from the same background, right? So yes, the background does matters. So make sure that the topic should not deviate from your theme and it is relevant to the subject. Very, very important. Otherwise, the discussion should be go into another aspect, and that's where the importance of this particular process is automatically going to be diluted. Then moderators or facilitators, very, very important. They are the pillars. They are the major role players as far as the group discussion process is concerned. They have to manage everything from beginning to end. It is their whole responsibility that the group discussion should go flawless. There should not be any disruption, any nuisance. Nobody should allow to go out of the track. We must need to ensure that they should stick to the topic, right? And they should not be deviate from the topic. And that's where we also have to maintain very, very important thing is, that overall flow of the group discussion should not be disrupted. So this is the responsibility of the moderators and facilitators. And at the same time, on the contrary, we should also instruct them that you should always follow, observe, and pay attention to the moderators or facilitators who is conducting a group discussion. So this is what the salient features. Time limit. So yes, must ensure that the group discussion should be, allotted within 15 to 30 minutes preferably. This is just a rough idea. We should not conclude that this is the only time limit that we have to follow, but this is the kind of, gist about the time limit. It could be deviated depending upon the theme, requirements, area in which we have to deal with, right? So time limit is always going to be fluctuated depending upon the requirement of the topic and the subject. And the ultimate decision is lies in the hands of moderators or facilitators, right? Who is going to conduct the group discussion, right? At a moment, whatever he or she feels, they are free to take a decisions about the extension of the timings. Not much than that, but 10% or 2-3 minutes might be extended. Then how the evaluation process needs to be done? So yes, there are certain criteria, like let's say if we are arranging some project vivas, interviews, right? So we are also evaluating the candidates based on the various parameters. So these are the various parameters that needs to be evaluated by the group discussion process, and that process will be done by the moderators or facilitators. So that is, the communication skills are always going to be checked whether the candidate is able to communicate the actual message that has to be passed on, right, in a language that they have to deal with, right, and the fluency and the capability of the candidate on the particular language. Analytical thinking, if at all, on the topic in which we are discussing, how much candidate is aware about, how much data, facts and figures have been provided, how much awareness has been provided by the candidates, right? So this is called analytical thinking. Problem solving abilities, so the candidate should also able to handle the critics from the other candidate, and at the same time how he is able to handle the critics and the arguments, and at the same time how he is reverting on this argument. That is called the problem solving abilities. Leadership quality, right, we must need to ensure that the leadership qualities of the candidate should be properly maintained, right, and ultimately the teamwork needs to be defined, right? So the candidate should be properly teamwork, right? He should not deviate from the teamwork. That means he should not go out of the track. Either he should be in support of someone, or either he should be in oppose of someone, right? But at a time we should not see that he's not allowing others to speak, he's not cooperating. Right. So these are the negative points that needs to be observed at the time of group discussion. And it is a responsibility of the moderator and facilitators that he should constantly monitor the behavior of the candidates, right? It's not like that the candidate is knowledgeable, but he's non-supportive, right? Because the organization should always work based on the team, right? And individual efforts in organization is hardly does matters, right? So we also need to see that we should select those people who is believing in teamwork, and that should be evaluated through the group discussion process, right? And that's why the evaluation criteria may vary depending upon the objective of conducting the group discussion, right? So that is a purpose. In many organizations, the communication skills does matter, like call center. But if you are going in some BPO, KPO, where the analytical of the data needs to be done, so communication skill hardly matters, where analytical skills needs to be provided, right? So depending upon the type of organization in which you are going, or the type of field in which you have taken your admission, so depending upon that, the evaluation criteria needs to be varied as far as the requirement of the field or organization is concerned. Code of conduct, that is called rules and regulations, that has to be communicated by the moderators well before starting the group discussion. And at the same time, the candidates are also advised to adhere this code of conduct strictly, right? They should not speaking, they have to speak once at a time, and at a time when the others are speaking, they should avoid the interruption in between, right? When the separate time has been allotted to some person, we need to allow him or her to speak, and at that time when you don't have to speak, you have to adhere to the guidelines, and you should not interrupt that particular person. That will destroy the decorum of the group discussion. And at the same time, if there should be some deviation in the opinion from your opinion to others, and at the same time the other person opinion is found to be true, then you should have a guts and capability to digest that particular opinion, right? And that's where the active participation needs to be encouraged. That means at the same time you should not speak too much, but at the same time it should not be like that you should keep mum, right? It is your responsibility to provide your opinion, discussion, because ultimately if you are a part of group discussion, then evaluation should be done based on the participation of the candidate. So if at all you are a part of group discussion, but you are not speaking a single words, then there would be hardly requirement, or there would be hardly chances that you should get evaluated, right? So yes, you should keep engage yourself into the group discussion, support them, merge with people, learn with people through the relevant examples, and engage others, with your perspectives and thoughts. But that should be relevant, right? And at the same time, decision making. So ultimately, if at all the group of people are making some, discussion on particular topic, at the same time, we must need to ensure that the decision making should be done. That means I'm talking here about the concluding remarks, right? Let's say if I'm starting group discussion process, so there should be some person who is taking a lead. That means who is taking a starting, kickstart, right? So the person, on a contrary, there is one person who is taking kickstart, but at the same time, there is a person who is taking, at the, concluding remark, right? So let's say all people have made a discussion on the topic, right? So what is the ultimate outcome or conclusion out of this particular discussion? So that is called concluding remark, right? So that is also needs to be, done. And this concluding remark does matters for the discussion point. So that is also needs to be taken care, right? So concluding remarks and all such part are the part of the discussion that we have to see to it. And, it should be properly justified. So why group discussion is important as far as the selection process is concerned, right? So there are many reasons, why group discussion are considered to be one of the important parameters. So the reasons are many. So we are here to discuss the reasons for having this kind of group discussion is first, whenever we are having a discussion on this kind of topics in group, so the understanding and the knowledge of the students are always going to be on the higher side, right? So sometimes it might be possible that students don't like to read, right? They don't want to become a bookist person, but rather if we make this kind of study and learning process to have open discussion on the group of people after carrying out or after giving some fundamental knowledge on the topic, and let's ask the people's opinion. So here the synergy that is going to be created over here in terms of knowledge sharing, right? So students will learn automatically out of this process, and that's where they can enhance, they can widen their understanding, right? So that is where the students' knowledge is going to be always on the higher side. And at the same time, if at all any problems, let's say you are reading something, so until and unless if you don't apply, right? So it has been said in this, world that knowledge is not a power until and unless if you don't apply. Right. So that is called application of knowledge is power. So when you are in student life, so students' life, where the theoretical knowledge is always bombarded, but as far as practicality is concerned, that is hardly does matters, because the teaching schemes that we have designed is mostly on a lecture basis. But it's okay if we are having a lecture basis, but at the same time, we should allow students to have a critical thinking, right? And that's where they would be able to identify the problems out of the fruitful discussion. And once they would be able to find out the problems, then they will start thinking about the solution process. And when they are able to think about the appropriate solutions for the particular problem, that's where they will start applying the fundamental concept and knowledge that was given and that was put up in the syllabus as far as the student development is concerned. That is where the application of knowledge is going to be processed, and that's where the students turns out to be powerful weapons in the organizations where they have to work in the future. And that's where the employability skills will be enhanced. Increased potentiality among the students are always going to be proven, right? And that's where the image of the academic institute and university is always aligned with the students' track records, right? And that's where we would be able to get the good ratings, accreditations, right? So all those processes are part of it. So yes, and group discussion is playing one of the fundamental role as far as this kind of things is concerned. Then it helps to understand the students' thought process about a specific topic, right? So it's not like that whatever we are teaching, our opinion always does matters, but at the same time, we should also allow and we should also take the opinions of the counterparty about the syllabus, right? So many a times, hello, yes, any doubt? Okay. So it is not like that we should, bombarding on the students, but at the same time, we should also ask the students for any topic or any requirements that they feel for understanding one particular subject. So that's why students feel confident, students feel proud right? And that's where we would be able to understand their actual problems, right? That we were carrying at the time of following our own fundamental, teaching scheme, rather than don't ask to the others, that is students, right? So you always follow students and try to implement in a way they want, right? I'm not saying that the leniency part, but I'm saying that how to enhance knowledge. But we have to keep our question to be close ended, right? Which method is going to enhance your knowledge? What is your opinion, right? And that's where students will be able to answer, right? So that is where the group discussion is also playing an important role. It improves the listening and communication skills, right? So that's where the students would be able to listen and communicate with the others. Many people are, introverts, where they are not trying to interact with others. They have a stage fears. They will literally shiver when they have to, speak in front of the people. So these are the, group discussion is one of the important platforms that we must provide to our students during the college life, so that students should remove their fears and they would be able to stand out in front of others with confidence, and they should put their opinions very clearly and precisely. You just see the army officers, right? How efficiently they are communicating, right? If you meet some a colonel, how he's efficient to communicate with the others, right? Because he has to manage a team, right? So group discussion is actually teaching us how to become a leader, right? And leader needs to speak, because until and unless if you don't speak, how others can understand what is your ultimate aim, right? And that's where the group discussion plays an important role to enhance the communication skills. And at the same time, leader also need to listen others, right? At the time of war, he has to listen. The ultimate message needs to be passed on, and has to be passed out by the team, right? So that's where he has to take a decision. So yes, only speaking does not work out, but at the same time, you also have to listen the other's opinion. That's where you will improve your decision power. And that is required, that you should always have a good listening power, because until and unless if you don't listen properly, you will not be able to understand the actual message that has been passed on by the other agencies and the person. And at the same time, the group discussion will help the students to build the confidence, and that's where the moral of the students in front of people for speaking ability will going to be rise. And ultimately, if we are having this much amount of overall development in terms of understanding, critical thinking, problem solving power, removing stage fear, becoming outwards, right? So that is an overall impact that we must notice in our students if we implement the group discussion practice in every subject as a part of curriculum, right? And that's where we will actually be able to develop the right kind of things that we are looking for, and that's has been looked out by the corporates, that is called the right attitude for the right profile. That's where the selection process has been happening across the world in the corporate, right? So we have to build up the right attitude among the students. And that is where the group discussion is one of the greatest weapon for all of us to develop the right kind of attitude. So how the group discussion process has been started. So firstly, we need to announce the topic. Firstly, we need to announce the topic, that is called the topic announcement that we have to do. That is called the beginning of the process, that will be done by the moderators, right? So moderators should announce any of the topic on which they have to do the group discussion. So that is called topic announcement. Once the topic has been announced, we should allow some preparation time. So here you can allow preparation time for 2-3 minutes at a time, right? So we need to allow the preparation time for the person for 2-3 minutes, where the students can answer, the students can prepare, make up some ideas, right? So that is called the preparation time needs to be given to the students for the topic, where they can jot down some important topic that has to be present at the time of their turn. Once that preparation has been done, we should start into group discussion. We should allow some individual time. Let's say there are 5 or 10 people in the group, right? And there is a 30 minutes time period. So we should allow individual discussion time for every candidate for 2 minutes, right? So here the 20 minutes needs will be consumed overall. And then rest of the 5 minutes we should provide, right, for the open group discussion, right? Here the individual person will put their opinion either in favor or against. Then after, here is the counter argument will happen in the two parts of people, who is for and against. And after looking at the opinions and arguments, the moderator needs to allow the result over here in 2-3 minutes. So this is how the time break has to be done based on the consideration of the group discussion, right? So that is where the group discussion process needs to be conducted. So at every point, the moderator needs to be very careful as far as the overall timings are concerned, right? And that's where he would be able to finish within the stipulated time period. If he need, then he can extend up to 2-3 minutes more. That is okay, not more than that, right? But yeah, in this process, in this two process, the moderator will evaluate the candidate. Here he will evaluate his knowledge, his communication skills, right? And here he will be able to handle his teamwork ability, right? Listening power. Here is a speaking power, right? Communication. But here you will evaluate the listening power of the candidate, right? Supportiveness in terms of team activities. So here in the discussion part, the major evaluation happens, and here in result also the concluding remark has to be done, right? So who will conclude this discussion, that is also going to be evaluated as a part of the evaluation process. So this is what the entire cycle has to be processed. Then we will have to discuss the prerequisites of group discussion. So before group discussion, what are the prerequisites? So first is respect towards the diverse opinions of others. So you always have to do, the respect of the person who is having the opinions. Clearly define the topic to discuss. So topic should be very clear, precise, where everyone should understand. And we must need to ensure that the discussion should be done based on the topic itself. It should not be deviated from the topic. Selection of participants. So either at a school level or university level, it should be based on the stream in which the students are, or it should be based on the specialization that student needs to opt for. And then moderator or facilitators must required at the school and college level. It should be faculties, and at the corporate level, the managers, or the selectors who is going to be the part of it. Rules and regulations. So that is called code of conduct, that we have already discussed, that the code of conduct needs to be passed on to the candidates well in advance, and they should stick to the code of conducts and ethics of the group discussion, which has been settled down by the moderators, right? So here is the moderator role is going to be very, very important, because he has to set down the rules and regulation, predefined format, predefined time, right? So this is all in the hands of the moderators, right? So rules and regulation needs to be followed. You should not counter argue others when the separate time has been given to the person, right? Predefined format means you should follow the structure of the group discussion. You should not put your own opinion. You should not behave out of the box, right? So this is how these are the things that participants needs to avoid as a part of group discussion. That is called the avoidance of the rules and regulations. This is called, if at all the participants are doing it, so he will be evaluated based on negativity. If the format is predefined and still you are trying to put your own format, so that means it is breach of law. It is a breach of law, and at the same time you are having low listening power. So here you are making your chances to get selected to almost on the zero positions, right? So it is the responsibility of the candidate that he should adhere the moderator's lectures, moderator's advice very precisely, and this moderator advice should cover these three parameters, and this should be followed very strictly, right? Active participation. So obviously you should provide active participation. I'm not saying that over participation, I'm saying that active. That means wherever you have to speak, wherever you have to interact, wherever you have to interrupt for the critical thinking or rational data based on which you want to make an argument or to prove an opinion for the topic on which you are discussing, you always do it. Nobody stops you, but make sure that it should be valid and viable. Otherwise you have to face the counter arguments as well, right? So yes, evaluation criteria needs to be set again by the moderators, right? So evaluation criteria in terms of communication skill, critical thinking power, teamwork, leadership skills, right? So there are many parameters based on which the group discussion needs to be conducted and based on which the person needs to be evaluated, right? So evaluation criteria needs to be fit. Evaluation criteria should be properly so that the person should have the proper selection process. Time management, very, very important. Stick to the timeline, should not disobey the timeline. Otherwise, again, the candidate will be evaluated based on this kind of negativity. So always try to avoid to extend your time limit, stick to the time and do your job during the time process. That is what it's called. You have to maintain the proper time. Feedback mechanism. So yes, this is has to be done again by the moderator. This time management needs to be done by the candidate and moderator both. Feedback mechanism needs to be done by the moderator. So it's not like that, even it is applicable to the moderator also, that I know everything. It should not be like that. We should also ask the requirements to the candidate who is coming for the group discussion process. Once the process get finished, we should always ask their opinion in terms of all the conduction practices, and we should also take the opinion of them, that how was their experience, right? Whether it is good or bad. If at all it is good, then why it is good. If it is bad, then why it is bad, right? We should continue with the good things, but we should always try to imply the changes, modification for all the aspect where the candidate have feel some problems during this process, right? So that's where we will try to improve our process of selection and group discussion things. That's where the candidate should also enjoy, because the comfortness of candidate is also does matters in this process. So we should always take care about the feedback mechanism that we have to taken care from the candidate. Then very, very important part, that is called comfortable setting, right? So we must need to ensure that whosoever is coming for the group discussion, he or she should be comfortable during the process, whether it is for a place, whether it is for the topic, whether it is for the areas, right? So all these aspect, they should feel comfortable, because it has been said that the productivity will always comes when the person is feeling himself or herself to be on the comfortable mode. If at all the person is not comfortable, he would not be able to provide the productive opinions, productive arguments that should carry forward and that should continue the group discussion process, right? So if at all we are looking for critical thinking abilities, critical thinking power, we must need to ensure that the setting of the people in the group discussion needs to be proper, right? So here, the comfortable setting needs to be done. Benefits of group discussion. So first is enhanced learning. So obviously, group discussion always provide the enhanced learning in terms of the advanced learning, where you are learning so many things at a one platform, right? Because you are not only knowing yourself, but at the same time, you are also trying to understand the opinions of others, and you are also receiving some knowledge sharing aspect from the your colleagues who is a part of this group discussion, right? Critical thinking, yes, if at all you are having some other opinions, so you also apply your mind that why it is happening and why it is not happening, and that's where you start thinking about it, which you were not aware about earlier. And that's where you will get this kind of benefit when you are a part of this group discussion process. So obviously the thinking power of the person always going to be enhanced, because he's going to come, he is in the he is making he is in the position to make aware about certain facts and figures which he was not knowing yesterday. And that's where thinking power is automatically start processing. Communication skills, obviously you will try to learn from the others as well, and you will try to improve your own communication skills. You'll try to catch the understanding powers of how you make committed mistakes as far as the content delivery was concerned, whether it was due to lack of confidence, whether it was due to lack of knowledge, whether it is due to the public fear, or might be you are not feeling comfortable with the location, right? So you will have the self imagination, self evaluation, through which you will come to know, and that's where you'll try to improve your communication skills in the future by avoiding this kind of hurdles, and you will be mentally ready for representing yourself when you are a part of group discussion and you are being experienced at least for one time during this process. So here the group discussion is also helping you to self evaluate yourself, and based on that you should make some modification in your personality which will be you going to be useful in the future prospect wherever you are going to work, whether it is your self-employment or whether it is your employment in terms of job life. Collaboration and teamwork. So obviously you will also learn how to collaborate with others, right, who are in the opinion of you, and how to make a team, right? How to put your point at what time, in front of whom, right? And what things that you need to speak out that carries out the significant positive impact among the group of people, right? So this is called selection process, and critical thinking ability will play a significant role here. Problem solving, right? So you will try to solve the problems by whatsoever things you were not aware earlier, now you came to know. So that is where the problem solving skills needs to be designed. Decision making, so you will be able to decide what is good for you, what is not good for you. So yes, you will try to modify your personality and your knowledge also, right? There was some misunderstanding that you have it for certain topics, but at the end of group discussion you came to know the facts and figures. So yes, your thinking, your conception, your personality, your opinion got changed through the group discussion. Confidence, obviously, if you face people for the first time, you will feel confident. You are having some stage fear, but at the same time, slowly and gradually, when you are become multiple times of this part, then you will feel confidence. You are feeling comfortable to face the people, right? And this is nothing but the group discussion is one of the greatest platform. Time management, we have already discussed. Conflict resolution skills. So yes, if at all somebody is objecting your opinion, you should have some proper treatments to handle those conflicts rather than pointing out someone, using abusive language, losing your temper, right? So these are the negative, imagination that you have portraying in front of the moderators. So try to avoid it, and always try to handle the conflict along with your, ability, skills, and critical thinking. That's the three weapons that you have to use rather than conflict, anger, and showing disrespect, right? Knowledge sharing, obviously, if multiple people are sharing their knowledge on a common platform or a topic, right? So obviously the knowledge is always going to be on the higher note. Leadership development, so if at all you are starting or ending the discussion, so you are showing your leadership skills with the right thoughts and opinion, and at the same time you are carrying the people along with you with your opinion. So that is where you are trying to portray your leadership skills through the group discussion. Networking, obviously, when you meet multiple people who is working in the same field or who belongs to the same field, so obviously you will came to know, you will share your details, knowledge, email IDs, and you will be in touch with the social media platforms nowadays, right? So and that's where the network is going to be enhanced, and through which you will always come out with the ample amount of employment opportunities and development opportunities for the future prospect. And cultural sensitivity. So yes, when you are working in the market, you are not the alone, but multiple people from multiple cultures, multiple domains are there, whether it is from marketing, finance, HR, whether it is from Hindu, Muslim, right? So the caste does not matters. And at the same time, when we are working together, we put away all the things aside, and at the same time, we should also know that the person should not leave out his culture. So we must adopt the cultures. I'm not saying that you only adopt, but also at the same time, they will also adopt. So yes, the mutual understanding through the cultural sensitivity, through the group discussion is also coming, because only your opinion does not matter, but we also have to listen to the counterparties, right? So that is where the sensitivity will come out. We always understand that we are in the problem, but we don't understand that the person who is not getting, the beggars, who is not getting one kind roti, right? So that person is having more problem than us, right? So until and unless if we don't understand the problems of others, we will not be sensitized, right? So sensitivity always comes from the cultural, right? So we have to understand the cultures of others, and at the same time we will develop the sensitivity towards them. Reasons for having group discussion, yes, so we have discussed lot many things. So it enhances communication skill, interpersonal skills in terms of how to support and argue others. We should also develop the leadership potentiality among the students, where we are allowing them some platforms to share their knowledge, to lead the discussion, and through which they will gain confidence. Teaching them the importance of teamwork. So we should always teach them the teamwork efforts rather than individual efforts. So collaborative efforts always work out for the organizational development, and that is where it is required, and that should be developed through the group discussion. Problem solving and analytical thinking power, we have already discussed. Making them understanding about diversity and inclusion. So yes, cultural sensitivity we have just discussed in the last slide, right? And also try to learn about how to indulge, how to include in the others, opinion, others events, and try to understand their emotions. And that should be come out with the group discussion. Time management, so we have to stick to the time, and in this time we have to finish the entire discussion. Stress management techniques and adaptive natures. So yes, we should also have the sensitivity and the powers to handle the critics. And at the same time, if at all sometimes we are wrong in some opinion, so we should have some adaptive nature rather than making arguments and taking personally on a part of egoistic behavior, right? So we should always adopt these things, and that's why to tackle this, to avoid this, and to point out these errors among the humans, who are a part of group discussion. So the group discussion techniques pedagogy is always going to work out for those people who wants to learn and resolve their mistakes as far as their behavior is concerned. So group discussion is turns out to be very one of the important techniques, right? So yes, culture information always comes out because multiple people are sharing it, and at the same time, emotional intelligence of the students. Do's and don'ts. So proper eye contacts during the group discussion needed. Initiate Judy means who is going to start the group discussion is also required. Allow others to speak. So yes, it's not like that you only speaks and others needs to listen. So we should also respect the others' opinion. So here it is proven. Speak clearly and confidently. Whatsoever you are trying to speak, be clear and confident. That's where you are making impact on others. Otherwise, others will also understand that what you are speaking, you are not clear and confident. So that is a negative thing, right? So to the point discussion, that means stick to the topic and theme of discussion. You should not go beyond that. Positive attitude, yes, positive attitude, it doesn't mean that you smile on the others, but at the same time, you should have adaptive nature in terms of handling critics. And if at all somebody is right on his opinion, so you should always support it. Speak sensibly, whatever you speak with utmost care, listens others carefully. So listening power is also required, right? And your volume, pitch, and tone should not be on too much high note. What you need to avoid, so as I told you, you should not be shy, nervous, and isolated. You always be the part of the group. Interrupting in between others is negative aspect. Don't be too much aggressive when your opinion are on the question mark, right? So if at all is right, you should adopt it, and if it is not right, then you should put your arguments in a proper way and platform. Do not change your opinion in between the discussion. That creates a negative image in the minds of moderators. Earlier you are on the supporting of the particular arguments, and now you are opposing your argument. So this is a negative inquiry. That shows that you don't know what to do, what not to do, what this topic is. So your selection of getting, your chances of getting selection is almost going to be on null. And don't make fun of counterparty. Never ever make a fun of others. It will create very, very disastrous situation in this process. So always try to avoid this function. So methods. So it is first is topic based discussion. So in this method, the moderator will allot one topic and the group of people will start discussing. And this kind of method is widely utilized in all the academic institute, universities, all the corporate for the recruitment process and training programs, right? Where the employee needs to be carry out some training program for refresher programs, case study discussions, right? So one case related to particular topic needs to be done. It should be from the live events, right? And based on that, the people's opinion needs to be asked for and against. Let's say when the GST was introduced in India in 2016-17, now we need to ask to the traders what is their opinion. We need to ask to the MSME sector owners how GST is impacting. Is it negative or positive, right? So that's where the problem needs to be identified, and that's where the decision needs to be taken care by the respective bodies. Debates. So yes, it is a kind of opinion taking process where each team presents the arguments in favor or against on the particular topic. If you are in favor, then you have to provide a positive point, and if you are in against, then you should put the negative points, right? And that's where the people needs to be identified based on their knowledge, communication skill, critical thinking, and at the same time whether the opposition is going to be on higher side or you. And that's where we will also learn how to defend positions, right? Role play, very, very important things. The participants are forced to act on the role of the person on which you are making discussion. So you'll try to understand and you'll try to be in the role, and you will try to understand all the hazardous things that is involved. What are the problems of this role? How the customers is going to treat you? Let's say if you are a salesman, right, and your other group members are a customer, you will also feel that how much ridiculous arguments that you need to face out when you go to the market for some selling some products, and how the customer are going to behave, right? So you will see that how the sentiments needs to keep aside, how the opinion needs to be keep aside, and how to be stick to your work when you also have to face some critics or some negative behavior among the consumers, right? So nothing is personal, you have to learn, if at all you are very sensitive, right? So you will also learn the sensitivity does not matters in the market, but yes, ultimately the business does matters in the market. So you will learn the actual actual characteristics for the particular organization or particular industry that has to be built up among one of the candidate, right? And that should be understand by putting yourself onto the position of that person, and that is nothing but the role play. Brainstorming, so one ideas or one problem needs to be stated over here, and people are forced to think about it and provide their opinion on this particular topic. Fishbowl, again, it is a part of brainstorming session, but it should not be open to all, but there should be a some small group of people, like 3 to 4, 4 to 5 people, because this kind of practices needs to be done when you are taking the interviews on the higher scale people, right, where you are not allowing most of the people, but you are allowing only the green person who is having 20, 25 years of experience and having good degrees, good qualities. And that's where your focus is not 10 to 15, but you want to focus upon 3 to 4. And out of this 3 to 4, you want to find out the bestest person to handle this managerial position. So that is where the fishbowl discussion needs to be executed. Again, jigsaw, if you are carrying some interviews for CEOs and MDs, right? So again, you will divide into small people, like 2, 3 people is discussing among each other, and you will try to evaluate based on the same parameters of managerial skill, interpersonal skill, critical thinking power, communication skill, how to handle the angers, how to handle the opposition, right? So this is where the jigsaw discussion needs to be done. Scenario analysis, you need to analyze some scenario, some situation based on a picture, a portrait has to be given, and based on that you will be allowed to and provide discussion. So interview panel discussion, the post panel will come from the corporates, right, and they will even ask you some questions, and on that questions they will ask your opinion, so you have to provide the opinion. Problem centric discussion means some problem needs to be portrayed, and you have been asked to discuss on this problem and provide some fruitful solution on this problem, right? So that's where you will be evaluated based on your teamwork with the other candidates, how the communication skill has to be delivered by you, and at the same time how you have tried to solve the problems with your critical thinking power. And panel discussion, so panel will be decided and the discussion needs to be executed. So conclusion is, the group discussion helps the participants to evaluate their ability. That is, we have discussed. That is a self-evaluation techniques that the people or the person needs to evaluate themselves and try to, mobilize and try to evaluate the personality based on these criteria. It also helps to evaluate the traits of the participants in terms of who is going to initiate this, who is having problem-solving abilities, who is having interactive power, leadership skills, and at the same time, this is one of the important techniques for evaluating candidates in academics as a part of innovative teaching tools. So, with that note, I'm finishing my, uh, you know, discussion. So, I'm making the session open for the question answer round. So, if at all you have any questions, please ask me. I'm ready to answer. Yes, please. Yes, please. Any questions? Any opinion, any experience that you have it for the group discussion practices? So you must share it over here. We will also have some brainstorming on this. Yes, any questions?
Yes, participants, the platform is now open for the question and answer session. So if you have any questions or would you like to share your insights on the topic, you are welcome to proceed.
There is two things. Either I have, teach you everything, or either I have not teach you anything. So at least you tell me where we are.
Sir, good evening, sir.
Good evening, madam. Yes, please.
Sir, this is Deepika from Mysore.
Yes, yes, please.
सर मैं तो डिप्लोमा स्टूडेंट्स के लिए क्लास लेती हूँ
Okay.
डिप्लोमा फैशन डिजाइनिंग
Yes, yes.
फैशन डिजाइनिंग कोर्स में तो ग्रुप डिस्कशन रैंप वॉक वो सब होते रहता है
Hmm.
लेकिन कुछ बच्चों ऐसा है कि ग्रुप डिस्कशन बोले तो डर लगता है उनको
Yes.
वो ग्रुप डिस्कशन के लिए आते ही नहीं है उस लोगों को हमें क्या करना चाहिए सर
See, we first of all, if they are not turning out right, so the most important tool is to have compulsion in the continuous evaluation process, right? If at all they are not turning up, they have to face lot of things. There are two things. There are person who wants to speak, but they are not intelligent. There are person who needs to speak, but they are intelligent. There are person who is intelligent but don't want to speak. So at least we should try to put out those people who are intelligent but do not want to speak because of they having fear. But the moment we'll try to put this kind of evaluation criteria, at least वो सारे बंदे जो होंगे जो बोलना नहीं चाहते थे बट समझते बहुत सब कुछ है, so
हाँ सर
automatically they came out, right? And if this person will came out, the automatic pressure will go to this person who don't want to speak and who is not having knowledge also.
ठीक है थैंक यू सर
So we
थैंक
have to create a pressures by putting some important and compulsion criteria as a part of the continuous evaluation process. That's why students will come out.
यू ओके थैंक यू सर थैंक यू
Yeah. Yes, Jinder Kaur, madam, please.
Yes. So sometimes the issue becomes because of the language. The students fear that they are not comfortable in speaking English. So they want to speak in their regional language, but this is normally not allowed at a given institute. So this can be this kind of issue can be resolved by the educational department. Means language should not be a barrier because they have talent because of their particular accent or poor knowledge of English, they are not able to participate.
See, when the students are coming from the vernacular language, they are coming from the 12th standard, right? So it's okay if they have a problem till 1 year. We should give them a time to, retrospect themselves and try to remodify them, within this 1 year. So during that process, it is our duty that if at all they are afraid of, or they are feeling some, fear. So it is our responsibility to remove that fear. Sometimes we need to be not harsh, but we have to be strict. Like that, you have to be the part of it. So until and unless if they don't experience with any of the process, they will not try to jump into the process. राइट अगर मछली को पानी में तैरना सिखाना है तो पानी में धक्का तो लगाना पड़ेगा, राइट? until and unless if they don't experience they will not adopt it. And this is a process that it has been said that बच्चा जितना छोटा होता है उतना उसकी अडोप्टेबिलिटी ज्यादा होती है. आज की तारीख में आपको मेरे को और आपको बोला जाएगा तो हमारी अडोप्टेबिलिटी इतनी नहीं होगी जितनी आज की जनरेशन की होगी, राइट? सो as far as the earlier period, how much they are adopting the culture, that would be fruitful for them in the future aspect. So many in that case what happens is we are not taking care of the students in the beginning of the first year. The first year is very crucial, right? I always tell to my student that first year should always be put in front of brush up your fundamental knowledge, and at the same time you should always try to get a grip on the English, because these two things they need to perform. And confidence, if they do these three things, the college life nothing they have to do, right? They just have to gain the knowledge in the area they have to work, so it will come automatically. I and you cannot do anything until and unless if these fundamental things needs should not be revived, right? So they will struggle for the rest of the college life, and that's where students will lose the the grief, the interest, and they swear they will lose the hope because we have not taken care at the root cause of the first year. So first year students should be focused upon removing fear, speaking ability, and try to get the some fundamental knowledge. Let's say if I'm from commerce and management, so I always tell to my students that accounts is needs to be proper, economics should be proper, everything will be proper,
So
right? So
one thing I feel that in our national education policy, uh, if every country is allowed to speak in their regional language and it's not a constraint on them, they have to speak in English, then such barrier should be removed from our country as well. It should be a proposal or in means we can if they are taking the suggestions from the various higher education institute, there must be a suggestion because it really it's a big afraid. Students are losing their talent because they feel inferior as they don't know the language in which the commonly all the countries normally speak. Why is such a big barrier is placed on the Indian students always? Whether all the countries are following their normal language, it's not a compulsion for them that they have. They took English merely as a language, but in India, this is taken as a symbol of dignity, or you can say the person is very superior if he's able to speak in English. So I think this barrier should be removed.
see, I consider that there are three aspects. First is you told that this is a barrier. I completely agree with your topic. Second thing is why India has some problem. So you know the problem. Why India has a problem? That problem you know it. We are the largest population country in the world. Are
I think
are
that
we
now
able
we
to? Are
are a
we?
free
No.
country, so NEP should think about this. That this barrier
Yes,
should be
yes.
removed now.
Obviously. I also feel it because if at all our country is able to provide an employment to all the candidates and all the citizens of India, then nobody would like to go into Canada, USA, New Zealand, Australia. But if we are not in a position, then the people is switch overing. And if they have to switch over, they should not crack IELTS, and all such exams in Hindi language.
So it's not about the skills only. The Indian people are having very good knowledge, very good technical knowledge, skills, and they prove it uh, in their country, in ISRO and in NASA as well. Most of the scientists are Indian. So I think talent is not the issue. The issue is only the language. They have to suffer because
Yes,
of that.
obviously, because as I told I told in the previous candidate, Deepika Madam has a question. There are certain students who have a skill but don't want to speak. So here in this case, if a person is having skill knowledge, as you said, but he or she won't be able to portray or demonstrate their feelings and opinion in verbal communication, then the person is not knowing that whether you are skillful or not in the group discussion process. Because you start working in organization when you are in selected, and to get selected you have to portray yourself in terms of speaking ability. You have to give your opinion on certain topics, and only the person should came to know whether you are knowledgeable and not. So your active participation is always being demonstrated by the communication skill, and communication skill always be demonstrated in a language where we are discussing. So if at all, if Kalpana Chawla has to demonstrate herself in NASA, so she has to speak in English, right? And she has adopted.
The case in NASA only, but why all are getting there? If we are working with the ISRO, that's an Indian institute, then if we talk about UP as well, all the studies in science is in Hindi as well. Then what about the rest of the states? Uh, means if we talk about we want that our country should progress more in technical area, then these things should be considered based on their technical knowledge and skills only, removing all the barriers. I
Obviously,
think
but technical skills is
also
okay. Let's say if you are appointed in NASA, right, where all the people are speaking in English, although you are good, but if the person is not understanding your efforts,
I
right?
know in that case this is required,
No,
but
I'm
it's
just taking hypothetical situation, right? If you are working in some other countries where the common platform is to either to learn their language or to accept the internationally accepted language. But at the same time, we should not bombard them that we should speak in Hindi and you will translate. So we have to adopt the culture. We have to have the cultural sensitivity, which I have already covered in my presentation. So cultural sensitivity always speaks that wherever you go for the work, you always have to adopt their cultural sensitivity. So you have to adopt their culture, their language, their emotions, right? If you are going over there, if they are coming in India, you don't have to change. So it depends on which side you are, right? If we are capable enough, why USA is not learning Hindi, right? So the question lies, the answer lies in this kind of argument. Why USA is not learning Hindi, but all the Indians are learning English?
Exactly. Why it's not happening? If they are coming to our
Economical growth.
we talk in their language rather than they are speaking our national language.
Obviously. So we have to see that where we are in terms of providing employment. And because ultimately, whatever we are doing from morning to night, it's all about the employment part, right? So if at all we are able to provide employment to our all the citizens, people will not switch out their countries, right? Who wants to change their culture, right? Until and unless they have not been forced to get an employment.
Okay, sir. Thanks. That was a good discussion about the topic.
Okay. Yeah. Any more questions?
नमस्कार श्रीमान जी,
Namaskar, sir.
मैं यज्ञेश कुमार। अभी जैसे कि मैडम कह रही थी, वो बहुत अच्छा मैडम ने बात उठाई है कि भाषा का महत्व के कारण या अंग्रेजी के महत्व के कारण बच्चे पिछड़ जाते हैं। लेकिन मैं एक बात आपसे पूछना चाहता हूँ कि हमारे दो शब्द आते हैं, अनुभूति और अभिव्यक्ति। कई बार ऐसा होता है कि बच्चे अभिव्यक्ति में सिद्धहस्त होते हैं, अनुभूति में नहीं होते, और कुछ बच्चे अनुभूति में सिद्धहस्त होते हैं, अभिव्यक्ति में नहीं होते। तो हम इन दोनों में तालमेल कैसे बैठा सकते हैं?
देखिए, दो चीज है कि दोनों लाइफ में चाहिए आपको। आप किसी भी पैरामीटर को इग्नोर नहीं कर सकते, पहली चीज, ठीक है? जो अनुभूति और अभिव्यक्ति, ठीक है? तो जो बंदा अभिव्यक्ति में है उसको अनुभूति लाना पड़ेगा। अनुभूति का मतलब है उसको नॉलेज लाना पड़ेगा। फील्ड का जो नॉलेज है वो तो आपको यहाँ से भी मिल जाएगा, ठीक है? अगर आप इंडिया में रहते हो तो इट्स ओके, आप हिंदी से भी सर्वाइव कर सकते हैं, ठीक है? और अनुभूति जिसको है पर अभिव्यक्ति नहीं है, उसके लिए आपको उसको डे टू डे काउंसल करना पड़ेगा, ठीक है? उसको आप कॉन्स्टेंटली मॉनिटर करना पड़ेगा कि भाई वो बंदा नॉलेज तो है, उसके पास सारी चीजें हैं, बट अगर वो अपने आप को एक्सप्रेस नहीं कर पाता है, ठीक है, तो लोग समझेंगे तो सही, बट समझने में बहुत देर हो जाएगी। तो कहने का मतलब ये है कि मैं नहीं समझता हूँ कि जिसके पास अनुभूति है वो कभी जिंदगी में फेल होगा।
अनुभूति वाला तो फेल नहीं होगा, लेकिन हाँ ये होता है कि अभिव्यक्त ना कर पाने के कारण कमजोर पड़ जाएगा।
एग्जैक्टली,
लेकिन
मतलब
ये है कि
लोग आज उसको आज समझने वाले होंगे तो 2 साल बाद समझेंगे। तो जो लाइफ में जो स्टेज उसको हासिल करना होगा ना, वो कहीं ना कहीं वो छूट जाएगा उसका।
हाँ जी, ये तो सही है। लेकिन अनुभूति कैसे बढ़ाई जाए? क्योंकि अनुभूति तो संवेगों का विषय है, जब तक संवेग ही नहीं होंगे तब तक नहीं बढ़ते।
तो जो जिसके पास अनुभूति नहीं है तो उसको थोड़ा प्रॉपरली काउंसिल करना पड़ेगा। अनुभूति क्यों नहीं, उसके कारण ढूंढने पड़ेंगे। जिसका कारण है फाइनेंशियल कारण है या बैकवर्ड क्लास से आता है, तो उसको हम लोग उस तरह से सेंसिटिवली काउंसिल करें उसको। तो पहले काउंसिल करना पड़ेगा कि उसके पास अनुभूति क्यों नहीं है। कुछ लोग हैं जिसके पास फाइनेंशियल स्टेटस बहुत है पर कुछ काम नहीं करना चाहते, ठीक है? तो सभी लोगों के सभी तरह के बच्चे हमारे पास आएंगे, बट हमें एक कॉमन प्लेटफॉर्म और मैकेनिज्म बनाना पड़ेगा कि जिसके तहत सभी लोग एटलीस्ट उस दायरे में आए कि जिससे कि जो भी हम लोग कंसेप्ट या टॉपिक जो उनको पढ़ा रहे हैं पर्टिकुलर फील्ड के अंदर, तो एटलीस्ट वो उसके गो थ्रू करे, कि कंप्लीटली उसको अवॉइड ना करे। जैसे मैंने बोला कि आप कंटिन्यूअस इवैल्यूएशन में कुछ क्राइटेरियाज बनाइए जिसमें कंपलसरी उनको इस प्रोसेस से गुजरना पड़े। तो क्या होता है कि हम सबको तो फोर्स नहीं कर सकते, बट हाँ हम एक सिस्टम ऐसी बना सकते हैं जिसके तहत सभी लोगों को उसका पार्ट बनना पड़े,
तालमेल बैठा सकते हैं।
यस।
एक ये जैगस्वार मेथड्स होता है, ये कैसे प्रभावी होता है?
कौन सा वाला?
जैगस्वार
जिक्साओ।
जैक्साओ, हाँ सॉरी गलत बोल गया।
हाँ, जिक्साओ। जिक्साओ मतलब देखो, आपको अगर लग रहा है कि कुछ स्टूडेंट्स हैं, जैसे कि मान लो कि आपके क्लास में 10 स्टूडेंट है, 6 लोग बोल रहे हैं, 4 लोग नहीं बोल रहे हैं,
जी
ठीक है, तो 5 का ग्रुप बनाइए, 3 जो बोल रहे हैं, 2 नहीं बोल रहे हैं, फिर 2 को प्रेशराइज करिए, या तो उनके इस लोगों के साथ बिठाइए कि जो 2 लोग बोल रहे हैं, एक नहीं बोल रहा है, तो उसको उसके साथ बिठाइए, तो बाय फोर्स ही हैज टू स्पीक, वरना वो बोर हो जाएगा पूरे दिन में। 2 दिन नहीं बोलेगा, 3 दिन नहीं बोलेगा, चौथे दिन वो भी बोलना शुरू कर देगा, राइट। सो वी हैव टू मिक्स द कॉम्बिनेशन, कि हमारे पास कौन सा कॉम्बिनेशन है। बीइंग अ मेंटर वी हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड कि हमारे पास कौन सा कॉम्बिनेशन है, और उसके कौन से कॉम्बिनेशन के साथ जुड़ के हम सिनर्जी बिठा सकते हैं, ये हमारे हाथ में।
जी,
सर
धन्यवाद आपका।
जैसे कि अगर बच्चा बोलने में कंफर्टेबल नहीं है ग्रुप में, तो कुछ ऑनलाइन प्लेटफॉर्म है जिसपे वो प्रैक्टिस कर सकता है, तो इससे बच्चे का थोड़ा कॉन्फिडेंस आएगा। पहले वो खुद को जज करेगा, अकेले बेशक इंडिविजुअल प्रैक्टिस करे, उसके बाद वो अपने ग्रुप को ज्वाइन करे।
बिल्कुल
तो आई
बिल्कुल
थिंक
बिल्कुल, बट ये काम हमारा है कि उसको कहीं ना कहीं उस दायरे में लाया जाए कि वो बोलना शुरू करे। मुंह बंद करके तो कुछ नहीं होगा। आज मैं लेक्चर लेने आया होता, मैंने 6:45 को खत्म कर दिया होता, तो शायद आप लोग ये डिस्कशन नहीं करते, या मैंने ऐसे RFI ने मुझे बुला लिया और मैं कुछ भी ऐसे ही फटाफट खत्म करके चला गया होता, तो शायद RFI भी मुझे दूसरी बार नहीं बुलाता, राइट। सो इट्स ऑल डिपेंड्स कि आप अपनी डिलीवरी को कैसे रखते हो और किसको इसकी कैसे अडॉप्ट करते हो। सो दैट डज मैटर्स, एंड प्रोडक्टिविटी उसी से आती है कि आप अपनी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी को समझते हो, सराउंडिंग्स को समझते हो, रिक्वायरमेंट्स को समझते हो, और वही चीज हमें स्टूडेंट्स को भी बतानी है कि भाई आपको बोलना है, वो आपकी रिक्वायरमेंट्स है, आप चुप नहीं रह सकते हो।
आपने बहुत अच्छी बात कही है सर। प्राय ये देखा गया है कि शिक्षण संस्थानों में राजनीति जहां पर हावी हो जाती है, वहां पर उत्पादकता या दायित्व निर्वाह, दायित्व बोध नहीं कर पाते। शिक्षक करते भी हैं तो उन पे कहीं ना कहीं राजनीति हावी हो जाती है, तो वहां पर जो शैक्षिक मूल्य हैं वो बिगड़ने लगते हैं। मैंने ये अनुभव किया है।
मैं उसमें नहीं पढ़ता हूँ, आई डोंट नो, बट हाँ अग्री करता हूँ, बट ठीक है, उसको हम लोग साइड पे रखते हैं। बट यस, स्टूडेंट्स को मॉनिटर करना हमारे हाथ में है। हम भारत का भविष्य लेके बैठे हैं, तो हम अपनी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी को समझे और उसको अच्छी तरह से निभाए जितना हमारे हाथ में है, ठीक है। एटलीस्ट वी शुड नॉट चीट विथ अवर सेल्फ, दैट इज व्हाट आई वांट टू से। थैंक यू सो मच फॉर ऑल ऑफ यू। Thank you so much, Research Foundation of India, for giving me this platform. Ajay sir, Saurabh sir, Neha madam for sparing extra time also. On all the participants for patient listening and believing on us and joining this particular faculty development program. And I hope this session will be helpful to you by understanding the moral values. This all entire session is basically based on understanding moral values and ethics, and that same things we have to teach to our students, and that's where we will develop the responsible citizen for our nation, and that's where our nation will grow. And if our nation will grow, we don't have to adopt the English for the further mode of communication. So that's it from my side. Over to you, Neha madam. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Kunal sir. So, as we bring today's session to a close, we extend our heartfelt appreciation to all participants for your active engagement, enthusiasm, and invaluable contributions. A special acknowledgement goes to our esteemed speaker, Dr. Kunal Soni sir, for generously sharing his time and expertise with us. We also express our sincere gratitude to the organizing committee and its sponsors for their support in making this FDP possible. So, with profound appreciation for everyone's dedication and involvement, we officially conclude today's session. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.